All right, one last look at your traffic and weather for this Wednesday morning. 2 accidents to report, one at Shop Road and Pineview Road, another one at Sunset between I-20 and I-26. Slow traffic going through that area. It's back up to being hot again. Today's high is 95, tomorrow 98, and 99 on Friday. Try and stay cool, hydrated, and don't forget about that sunscreen. That's our traffic and weather here on The Game. Oh, 9 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Hermesian, whatever we decided Jack is now called now that he lives in Irmo, with you here on your Wednesday. How are we doing, Jack?
I'm good, man. So Caroline she's in town now for, she's here for a few days with work going on with orientation today at whatnot at her school. So I mentioned it to her yesterday. We were on the way to dinner, and I'm like, hey, you know what Irmo people are called? Ermites. And she was dying laughing. She thought it was weird, but
it sounds like termite.
Yeah. She's like, what the heck? I was like, yeah, that's what our text line says, so they must be right.
How is the process of unboxing your stuff before she moves in?
It is going. I've got a couch cleaner coming today because the couch has got a little bit filthy during move out and moving in. So we are got those guys coming on later today, and then we're slowly getting through it. I'm waiting. I am waiting though for a lot, of the moving. The unpacking is going to really take place once she moves in this weekend because I have. So my dresser and nightstands are in the bedroom currently. Well, she also has a nightstand and dressers. So we're going to have hers in the bedroom while we move my dresser into the closet because there's enough space in there to fit it in there. It's like a perfect fit. So that way hers, because the colors really wouldn't match if we have both of ours in the bedroom.
It's very important.
And then the nightstands, my nightstands will move into the guest bedroom. So I'm kind of just waiting. Like I haven't really taken out any clothes yet. They're just sitting in a laundry basket at home, all clean. And but it's going good so far. But we really won't have a good grip on moving everything until she gets here. Funny story though. Yesterday, so I actually was going through. So I had these boxes, these big storage bins, these big black ones with yellow lids, sitting on my deck at my old place at Palmetto Compress for, since I moved in there in like January 2024.
Okay.
They were just sitting there, didn't touch them. Nature ran its course. They got pretty filthy. Like the lids are they're a lot dirtier and darker now compared to, I first had them. So I bring them over yesterday. I opened them and I'm starting to go through them because they were just sitting in my kitchen. I'm like, I don't really want them sitting there. So I take them outside, I open them, I go through them to try and throw stuff out that I don't need anymore because it's a lot of stuff from like college, like 2022, 21. I found so much interesting stuff in there. But the funniest thing I found, so for years now, my dad had a Paul O'Neill Yankees road gray jersey, probably from like the 90s. Like it's a Russell jersey, so that should tell you of like how vintage it is.
Very old.
Well, for the longest time, we couldn't find it. Right? We had no idea where it was. And so, whenever we'd go to Yankee, my dad's like, oh, where's my Paul O'Neill jersey? And nobody had any idea where it was. As you can tell where this story is going, yesterday, I go through the bins, and I see in like a garbage bag in one of the bins, the jersey is sitting in there. And so I call my dad, and I'm like, guess what I just found? And he's like, what? And I'm like, I found your Yankees Paul O'Neill jersey that had been absent for like the last 3.5 years, and he was dying laughing. It was the funniest thing. And then I texted Caroline about it before she got there, and she knew about the whole situation.
Sure.
And she sends it in all caps, "You had it." And I'm like, yeah, I guess
this was an ordeal is what you're telling me?
Yeah, this was a whole thing of like, where's the jersey? Who has it? No one had any idea. I didn't think I had it. And then in these boxes where I find things that I just didn't even realize I had, or, you know, hadn't thrown away or whatever. Yeah, the jersey was sitting in there. So that was pretty fascinating.
That is the great thing about moving, is you discover treasures that you forgot you had.
It is nuts. It's insane. Like I found, I mean, on my kitchen table right now is just a bunch of stuff that like I'm keeping that like I had no idea. Like there were baseball cards in there were books. I mean, just so many different little knickknacks and stuff that, yeah, I'm glad I went through those boxes now, because now they're empty, and yeah, it takes up less space in the house.
So you're going to help her unpack this weekend, and then you're going to head down to Tampa Monday.
Yeah.
So she'll be on her own for a couple days, I guess.
So, yeah, the plan will be Friday after we do radio, go to Charlotte. Saturday, we are loading up the moving truck at her current apartment, going down to Columbia. We're moving everything in there. We'll unpack. And then Sunday, I think she'll go back home to Charlotte. And then Monday, I will be going to Tampa. Yeah, because she's not going to stay at the townhome alone, you know, especially since she wants to see her family before, like, when we went, like, I guess it'd be like, not that next week, but the week after. So a week and a half from now, like, we'll both be there every day moving forward.
Then it'll be normal.
Yeah, because, you know, work starts for her on the 28th. So,
Sure.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we'll both be there every day moving forward. And, yeah, man, we're looking forward to it. But, yeah, last night was the first night we were there together. So that was a lot of fun.
A lot of exciting things happening, including SEC Media Days, as we just mentioned a moment ago. And we learned yesterday late in the morning after you had left who the three attendees for South Carolina would be from the players' perspective: Lenore Sellers, Nick Harbor, and Peyton Williams. And honestly, we never really got to the opportunity to talk about, who do we think they're going to take? This doesn't really surprise me. I mean, you take two of the biggest names on the team. I know some people say, why didn't you take Dylan Stewart? Well, Dylan Stewart doesn't like to talk. You know what I mean? Like, this would not be a great setting for him. So Peyton Williams, an experienced guy, it's been around the program his entire career, playing an important role in defense, makes total sense.
Yeah, no, totally. With Dylan Stewart, no, you're as good of a player as you're not taking him to SEC Media Days. Not because I don't think I think there's a difference between he can't, you know, talk in like long sentences or whatever, or he just doesn't want to talk. I don't know what it is, quite honestly, because I feel like if you get one-on-one with him and you ask him like the right questions, he'll give you stuff.
Sure.
That has been the case in the past, but for the most part, he just seems like a guy that like doesn't really like to talk to the media, and that's okay, right? That's fine. But that is something that, you know, you're going to have to do at the professional level. And if he's a top NFL draft pick, like he should be next year, if all goes according to plan, then yeah, there's going to be a lot more media than his time at South Carolina for sure. You know, I'll jump to Peyton in a second, but you know, Nick Harbor's also going. Nick is a guy that, you know, his first or second year here, he was kind of in that boat of like not a great talker with the media, seemed a little bit shy about it. Now he's kind of just like this media, like, I guess, personality, because, you know, he's doing all that stuff with like the 1801 media group and whatnot. And, you know, he's out there on camera and whatnot and doing his thing. And he's very good now in press conferences to where, yeah, if we get him, you know, you're getting pretty good responses with him. So, yeah, I think he fits. There's going to be a spotlight there at the SEC Media Days next Tuesday. He definitely is the best of the group to go out there and embrace that spotlight. Now, Peyton Williams, I like that Beamer continues this tradition of giving the older guys that have been with the program for multiple years a chance to go to this event. Like last year, it was Luke Doty, or no, 2 years ago.
2 years ago it was Doty.
2 years ago it was Doty, Debo Williams, older guys like that. You know, Tonka, Boogie, those types of players, you know, that have been with the program for multiple years. It's kind of like a, I don't know what you would call it, but you kind of earn it,
sure,
right, to go. You earn the right to be able to go because you've stuck with the program for multiple years. And there's been like an exception or two, like when Spencer Rattler first came here as a transfer, Beamer brought him. And, you know, typically, you know, he brings guys that have been around South Carolina forever, like DeCarrion Joyner is another example. So I like to see that Peyton Williams, who was a good player too, I think, by the way, who's going to have a big role for this team, is getting his chance to go.
Yeah, and of course, Lenora Sellers, the face of the program, quarterback going into now his third year as a starter, makes total sense. And he's somebody, too, you mentioned about Nick Harbor opening up. And by the way, Nick Harbor is maybe the most self-confident player on that team when you hear him talk about himself and about the team. So that's somebody really good to represent you at an event like this. And Sellers has come out of his shell a lot more. I think it was me and Wes that had him in here for the GTA Hour all the way back in December of 23. And he didn't have any crew with him. He didn't have any posse, no agent, nothing like that. It was just him coming in here. We talked to him for an hour, and, we were lucky to get 7 words of an answer out of him, kind of, because he was just kind of a shy, reserved type of guy. And being in the role that he's been now as the face of this program for a couple years, he's come out of his shell a lot more. Still, a ways to go. And, again, he's not the guy that's going to jump up on the table and give you the Braveheart speech at the locker room at halftime, but he's somebody that is opening up a lot more, and I'm interested to see where that progress is at next week, too, when we hear from him.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's going to be someone that definitely, I think, will be a highlight standout from media days in terms of any team, in terms of the answers that he's going to be giving. I mean, there'll be I'm interested to see what the breakup is of, like, okay, everyone's going to go see Sellers, right?
Yep.
So, like, the setup they have there, for those that don't know what it's like at SEC Media Days, it's in the main room where they have the press conference for the coaches. They have like little table spots set up, podiums for the players of the respective teams. So there's going to be one for Lenore's, there'll be one for Peyton Williams, and there's going to be one for Harbor. Everyone's going to go to Sellers, obviously, during that time because they're all in the room at the same time.
Yep.
I wonder what kind of crowd a guy like Nick Harbor gets because you could argue he's probably one of the. Is it fair to say he's one of the more well-known players in the sport because of his size, because of his speed, and because of the video game, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's like top 5, but yeah, he's a name that I feel like most people outside of South Carolina at least know to some degree. And a lot of people's like, oh, the guy's a 5-star. Why isn't he going out there and getting 1,000-yard seasons? We obviously know why that reason is. But yeah, I think he'll garner a lot of interest. Hopefully enough people want to go talk to Peyton Williams too. I always feel bad when you see the guys that like there was the I think it was with Arch Manning maybe last year where it's like everybody's over at him and one of his teammates has nobody or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I hate when that kind of stuff happens. So hopefully a fair amount of people will want to talk to Peyton Williams too. And it's not just Harbor and Sellers.
Well, I will say this. I will go over and talk to Peyton Williams if need be. There will be people that go talk to him, especially because he's the only defender over there. So and he's got a lot of good perspective. I think Peyton's a decent talker, not amazing by any means from what I remember, but definitely earned the opportunity to go to this event because I think it's a little bit of a privilege. You get to go to, you get to fly on the jet. You're with Coach Beamer. You're going to Tampa. I mean, it's going to be pretty cool. You get to wear your Sunday best essentially with the suit and tie. I mean, it's going to be a cool event for those guys to get to go there and see that because again, only 3 players go, and I'm sure it was a tough decision for Shane to figure out. Aside from like Lenoris and Harbor, who's that third guy going to be that ends up going?
Yeah, a lot of options, especially on defense. You could have gone with a guy like Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. You could have maybe rewarded a second-year linebacker like a J.R. Johnson or something along those lines. But again, Peyton Williams makes a lot of sense. Vakari Swain could have been a good option too. But yeah, I think that the guys you ended up with make a lot of sense, and we'll hear from them a week from yesterday, and obviously we'll try our best to get those guys on the air in addition to what they say, to you guys and the local media scrums and all that too.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be, we talked about this yesterday, Tyler, with what time South Carolina could be going. It looks like, I didn't see like anything specific that like says like South Carolina is talking at this time, but it looks like they're going to be in the afternoon per one of the emails that the SEC sent out yesterday. So them and Vanderbilt are in the 1 to 5 p.m. range. So,
yes.
And South Carolina's name was above Vanderbilt. So I'm guessing that means sometime after lunch, South Carolina will be going in the first of the 2 teams in the afternoon window.
Yeah, it's either going to be like 1 or 3, probably. Which last year I think Beamer was he the opener or was he the first guy to speak after Sankey?
I think he was because again we were interviewing him in the local media gag before the real thing started at like 8:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So it was very early to start the day.
Yeah, so somewhere between this says 1:30 and 5, so either 1:30 or like 3 o'clock or 3:30, somewhere around there for Beamer speaking next week. And again, we'll try and pull him and as many of the players as we can into the radio if we can, like we did a season ago. Speaking of the countdown to kickoff, we're 52 days away. What does the number 52 mean? We'll tell you about it on the other side. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Feltree on your Wednesday on the game.
All right, everyone, let me tell you about our good friends over at AAA Heating and Air, where home comfort is their top priority. Give them a call today at 803-677-1500 to schedule a seasonal maintenance appointment. Let AAA Heating and Air's qualified technicians put your mind at ease with a thorough inspection and cleaning of your heating and cooling system. Join their popular AAA Comfort Club to take advantage of special extras such as flexible visits, added discounts, and priority scheduling. AAA Heating and Air also offers indoor air quality products that work with your HVAC system to improve your home's air quality. Cleaning the air eliminates common household odors, removes allergens, pollutants, and can even improve sleep and reduce the spread of some viruses and so much more. So go to call3AAtoday.com for more info. Again, that is call3Atoday.com for more info. Tell them Jack from 107.5 The Game sent you on over.
All right, welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head, Jack Veltri on your Wednesday here on the game. Slowly counting our way down to September 5th, where Kent State comes into town. We get to finally kick this season off 52 days from today. And the number 52 is significant, Jack. Do you ever come across a stat or go searching for a stat that really surprises you to the point where you have to double check and triple check, wait a minute, am I reading this right?
Oh, yeah. I feel like that happens all the time, honestly.
So I, again, was trying to find something related to 52 days or the numbers 5-2 or whatever for South Carolina, and I came across the stat. And again, I had to double and triple check this multiple times. Coach Beamer went 5-2 at home in each of his first 4 seasons here. Went 3-4 last year, but consistently winning 5 of 7 home games for the first 4 seasons at Carolina. I don't know why that really surprised me.
Yeah, especially considering South Carolina's the most wins they've had in a season is 9.
Mm-hmm.
Before that it was 8. So we're talking about most of their wins come at home, and that I'd be interested to I don't know the road numbers off the top of my head, but obviously the road numbers are not going to be as good as the home ones. Last year, they went 3-4 at home, and last year they won 1 game on the road. So, yeah, and technically they didn't even win a game on the road because it was the neutral site.
Yeah, that doesn't count for road wins.
No. So they went winless on the road last year. Forget that.
Yep.
But I think there is a correlation with the success at home, and I think this goes for most schools, honestly, and especially at South Carolina. I think it's fair to say, unbiased opinion here, I think they have a top 10 atmosphere in college football at Willie B. It is definitely a tough place to go play. Listen to any play. I remember, I think an interview from a dozen years ago or something. Todd Gurley, when he was at Georgia, talking about Willie B. When it gets really loud on third down, it is a tough place to go play. So yeah, and he's not the only one to say stuff like that. It's definitely a tough place for a road team to go in there and play. And when it's at night, South Carolina's gotten some big wins at night before at Willie B. So I think there is a correlation between having a good home atmosphere, and that leads to some wins.
Well, I can tell you one thing. If you tell me, much like we had the conversation the other day about, hey, if Carolina goes 5-4 in conference play, you're feeling pretty good about their chances to win in the neighborhood of 7 or 8 games because, you're obviously going to take care of most of your schedule there with 9 of the games being conference games. Similarly, if you told me right now that South Carolina managed to go 5-2 at home this upcoming season, and again, for the bare minimum of what you're trying to accomplish is getting back to a bowl game, and obviously you want to do more than that. That means you have to find a way to win at least 1 game, either at Alabama, at Florida, at Oklahoma, or at Arkansas, or at Clemson. And I think that's very doable. If you tell me you take care of 5 of your 7 conference games and only need at least 1 more to make a bowl game, I feel very confident in South Carolina's ability to do that. Who that is, I don't know. Again, we'll see what going to Florida is going to be like this year. We'll see what shape Oklahoma's in by the time you get there. Obviously, Arkansas seems like the easier game, and I know people want more than 6 wins. But again, I'm just talking about the bare minimum of what expectations are this year, and that is getting to a bowl game. And if you can win 5 of your 7 conference games, you do a whole lot of the heavy lifting there.
So I think there is, when you look at the way the home schedule breaks up, and a lot of the home games do take place in the early part of the year. 4 of your first 5 games are at home. I think there is a very good chance you go 4-0 in those first 4 home games. You got Kent State, Towson, Mississippi State, then you're on the road at Bama, and then you come back and play Kentucky. I think there's a good chance you're at least 3-1, but at best I think you could be 4-0. And then that leaves you with 3 more home games the rest of the year: Tennessee, A&M, Georgia. I got a feeling they're going to take one of those games for sure. I think most likely it's either A&M or Tennessee. If you can beat Tennessee, I like your odds to maybe win against A&M. I mean, shoot, if the guy, if that prediction's right about Georgia getting upset by South Carolina late in the year from the guys on 3, then yeah, maybe the season really is going to be something different. I mean, there's a good chance they end up having a pretty solid record at home just because of the built-in wins at the start of the year with Kent State and Towson. Like, you're kind of setting yourself up to do pretty well at home with the way the schedule shakes out for the first month heading into October. It's just, where along the way are you going to be able to win road games?
Mm-hmm.
Bama, Florida, OU, Arkansas, and Clemson, like you mentioned, Tyler. I mean, how many of those road games do we feel like they can go out there and win?
I feel good about the Arkansas game. You've obviously had Clemson's number in Memorial Stadium the past couple of years. I said this earlier on this week. I feel better about the Alabama game now that I've read into them a little bit more. And I'll tell you another reason why coming up in the next segment. And again, you've played them tight the past two games. So that doesn't seem like the impossible task that maybe it would have been a couple years ago. Again, Oklahoma's a playoff team, but you had a lot of success when you went there last time, though that team's much different now. What I leave out, Florida. Florida's always tricky, but again, we don't know what they're going to be, a month into the season with a new head coach and a bunch of new players. So again, you have challenging games, but I see the ability, if Carolina is as good as we think they can be, where you can be competitive, if not win most of these.
I really don't the more I look at the schedule, man, I really don't think it's not easy, but it's certainly not as tough as it's been before.
Sure.
There have been far tougher schedules. I think you avoid you get lucky having Georgia at home. I think that's a big win right there. Not having to go on the road, which I think is an automatic loss right there. Your toughest road game this year, I would say right now it's the Alabama game, because that Oklahoma game could be in the afternoon slot. And, going to OU, look, you dominated them 2 years ago going there. Obviously, OU has gotten a bit better since then, but I mean, I think OU is a winnable game. Bama's definitely your toughest one, but I think it's still winnable to some degree because it's not Nick Saban, Alabama anymore. And then the rest of the road games are Florida, Arkansas, and Clemson, all winnable games. So, point is, there's a lot. When you look at what the ceiling and the floor is for this team, best case scenario, worst case scenario, yeah, I can see. Look, some people think that South Carolina's going to go undefeated or go 11-1 or 10-2. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think there is definitely a possibility where it's if everything goes right, they stay healthy, everything turns out right, this offense is putting up 35, 40 points a game, defense is doing its thing, everyone stays healthy, you're getting the best version of everyone this season, yeah, they could definitely go out here and win 9 to 10 games because the schedule is more favorable than it's been before. But you got to take care of business in these games. I say they should beat Mississippi State and Kentucky, but what if they go out there and lose these games, right? Mm-hmm. Then the schedule looks a lot more daunting. So, yeah, but to kind of round us up back to the point of what we were talking about before with the way they play at home, I think the schedule it favors you early on to get off to a good start, given you have 4 of your first 5 games at home, and they're against teams that when the SEC media poll comes out next week, I'm kind of expecting Mississippi State and Kentucky to be at the very bottom of the totem pole, most likely.
Yeah, and again, Beamer will probably say the same thing. You got to take care of your business at home. You got 7 home games this year. Again, historically speaking, you usually win 5 of those. And if you can do that again this year, I think you set yourself up for this to be a very, very good season. And again, like you said, you have 4 of your first 6 at home with 2 road trips to Bryant-Denny Stadium and then Ben-Hill-Griffin Stadium down there in the Swamp, the only 2. Now, again, more road trips in the back half of the year. But, again, I like South Carolina's opportunity, if they're as good as we think they can be, to get off to a good start and, again, hopefully get back to that trend of winning at least 5 of your home games this upcoming year like Beamer did in years 1 through 4.
Yeah, I mean, the home games you have this year, I think there's definitely a good chance you can go out here and have a very strong winning record at home. Then again, it's okay, what do? You can be great at home, but what do you do on the road? And that may dictate what kind of year you ultimately end up having.
Speaking of the schedule, as I've been diving into these teams and learning more about their quarterback situations, there's a significant difference of what South Carolina is going to face in opposing quarterbacks this year compared to last year. I'll tell you about that coming up on the other side. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltry on your Wednesday here on The Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Wednesday on the game. Looking ahead to South Carolina and the schedule they face this upcoming season, I was reading through yesterday, Pete Nakos of On3 went through and projected all the starting quarterbacks for the SEC this year. And there's a lot of turnover from a year ago in terms of the experience at quarterback. And as I was kind of going through this list, and I've kind of been noting this as well, as I've been making my way through the Phil Steele catalog, it really stands out to me the difference in experience that South Carolina is going to be facing at the opposing quarterback spot this year compared to last year. Here's a stat for you. Of the 10 FBS opponents that South Carolina is going to face, 7 of them come into the season with a starter with a quarterback with 2 or fewer starts in their career, compared to last year, where 6 of the 10 starting quarterbacks they were going to face came into last year with 12 or more starts. They are facing a much younger and a much more inexperienced group of quarterbacks this upcoming season that hopefully can benefit them.
No, that's what you hope for, right? And you look at the schedule, I mean, in terms of guys that do have experience in this conference, you don't play Ole Miss, you play Oklahoma, you don't play LSU, which Sam Leavitt is a guy with experience, but never been in the SEC before. You get Georgia, which, I mean, Gunnar Stockton has a ton of experience. But beyond that, it's really it. Like, you really is it fair to say that – I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was more under South Carolina here.
Yeah.
You got Marcel Reed, a guy with more experience.
Yep.
But really, like, that's it. Like 3 quarterbacks you look at that have equal to or as much experience as Lenoris Sellers. Like, is it fair to say Lenoris is – one of, if not the most experienced SEC quarterback at this point heading into year 3?
So Lenoris Sellers would have had, because he didn't start the Akron game 2 years ago, so he has 24 total starts in his college career heading into this year, which puts him tied with John Mateer, because, again, he started at Washington State prior to going to Oklahoma. Marcel Reed has 21, and then Gunnar Stockton has 15 in terms of the teams that South Carolina is going to play. So just generally speaking, Carolina is going to have, at least for early in the season to start out with, until we know more about these guys, probably going to have the quarterback advantage.
Now, it can be an advantage if the other moving pieces on the offense are doing their part.
Right.
We saw it firsthand last year. Didn't matter that Lenoris was one of the Heisman favorites coming to the year. He had a terrible offensive line in front of him. So if you have 5 guys in front that are able to block for more than 2-3 seconds and give them some time to do something on offense, then, yeah, this offense does have a chance to be a lot better. But you're not going anywhere if that offensive line is not going to be any good. I mean, you don't have much of an advantage. The real advantage with the quarterback situations is how good's your offensive line and how good's your offense. Because if not, then you get a year like you had last year for South Carolina. That's why they made changes. That's why they revamped this offensive line, brought in a new OC, to give you a better chance to have more success offensively. But make no mistake, having that experience that Lenoris does now in his 3rd year in the SEC, you would expect him to be not making mistakes that he'd be making his first 2 years as a starter potentially.
Isn't it funny how everything we talk about with this team always finds some kind of way to come back to the offensive line? Because it sets the tone for everything, right? Like, if you can protect Lenoris Sellers and he's not running for his life, well, guess what? He's going to have the ability to sit back there, make his throws. He's going to have the ability to use his legs when he needs to. He's not going to get hit as much, hopefully, which is going to keep him healthier as the season goes along. That also means, hopefully, you're having good run blocking, which allows the run game to get going outside of just Sellers with whoever your primary running back is going to be. So, yeah, I mean, the experience is great, but if you're not giving any protection up front, it's only worth so much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything does kind of revolve around the offensive line with this offense one way or another. Because, yeah, how good is this team going to be this year? Well, I think it depends on, what kind of blocking you are getting up front, because it was the biggest weakness for you last year. But it is good to see, though, from an opponent's standpoint. And a lot of these quarterbacks could end up being pretty good. But I think there is something to be said about, Carolina doesn't have to really play a ton of teams that have a multi-year SEC starting quarterback. It's only a few games on the schedule.
Yeah, and look, again, we don't know everything about these guys at this point in time, and I look at a situation like Alabama. Well, right now they're deciding between Keelan Russell, who is a highly touted 5-star quarterback that's been on campus for a year now, and Austin Mack, who followed Kalen DeBoer over from Washington and has never made a start before. So let's say it is Keelan Russell, which right now kind of seems like that might be the indication of which way they're going to go. By the time Carolina plays him in week number 4, he could be the Heisman favorite. You know what I mean? Not a guarantee, but we've seen guys that explode on the scene with no experience before, take college football over, and suddenly they're the talk of the town. Johnny Manziel, guys like that, just to name a few. So you do have to throw that out there that those kind of things could end up happening, but until proven otherwise, you do look at those guys. Not Keelan Russell, KJ Jackson at Arkansas only has 1 start. Aaron Philo or Tramel Jones at Florida. Philo's the only one that's made a start when he was at Georgia Tech. Kenny Minchie's never made a start at Kentucky coming over from Notre Dame. You're going to assume and hope, especially the guys you get early in the season, they're still trying to figure things out where you're playing them.
And I think that matters a lot. Like those games against Mississippi State and Kentucky that feel very much like you get wins in those games. I think it really benefits South Carolina that you're getting those games out of the way early in the year to where, yeah, your schedule is tougher late in the year, but it gives you a good chance at the start to be off to a 4-1, 5-0 type of start. Maybe even get to 5-1, 6-0. You want to be in good standing heading into the bye week with the schedule that you have at the start. And yeah, playing quarterbacks that have not been in the SEC for that long. Like, Kamario Taylor started the bowl game last year?
He started the last 2 games.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of experience, but I'm not really looking at like that too much. Like, it's not like he has a ton of SEC experience. And then, with Minchie, who knows what that's going to look like. I do wonder what that Will Stein, I think that offense is going to be, it's got a chance to be good, I think.
Sure.
But early on in the year, first month, we'll see, but that definitely benefits South Carolina to some degree that you're playing some guys that are inexperienced early in the year rather than you play them second to last week of the regular season. They're basically sophomores by that point with how much experience they've already got under their belts as starters.
And I include Clemson in this as well because, again, you play 10 straight FBS opponents after you play Kent State and Towson to start the season. Chris Vizina started the SMU game last year in place of Cade Klubnik. That's his only start. Right? It seems like he's going to end up being the starter this year, but he doesn't come in with nearly the amount of experience that Klubnik had going into his kind of like his second and a half year as a starter a season ago. So Clemson's also back to the drawing board when it comes to figuring out quarterback.
Yeah, no, it definitely benefits you. And by the end of the year, he's still going to be the starter at Clemson. Who knows? But I think you're in pretty good shape when you look at the quarterback matchups. There's only a few that I would say South Carolina would lose, like Gunnar Stockton. I think Stockton's a better quarterback right now than Lenore Sellers. By the end of the year, maybe that changes when they play each other in late November. And then you look at Marcel Reed as another good example. Like what Reed was doing in that second half against South Carolina last year and that comeback effort was just really impressive. And honestly, if his receivers could have caught more balls in that first half, like if they weren't dropping every other pass in that first half, maybe Marcel Reed has like – I don't even remember how many touchdowns he had that day, but a lot of them did.
Quite a few
in the second half. So, yeah, Marcel Reed's a very good quarterback. So I think those are the 2 quarterback matchups that you look at as like you give the edge to the other teams. But for the most part, I think Sellers comes in as the better quarterback compared to these less experienced guys.
Real quick, when you get to vote on your first team quarterback next week, who's your selection?
Let me look.
I have an easy answer.
Easy answer?
Yeah.
Who's yours?
Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah, I would say probably Chambliss is probably the easy bet. I would still put, because it's 3 teams, right?
Yes,
so
3 teams.
I think despite his struggles last year, I think I would maybe still put Lenoris up there. Like, it's probably going to ultimately end up being like some combination of Chambliss, Stockton, and I wonder if Sam Levitt, maybe Arch Manning. I don't know. Lenoris probably isn't going to make any of the all-SEC teams. But when I vote, I'll probably end up putting Lenoris on there just because the experience does matter at the end of the day. And I really don't think he's that far removed from being the really good player he was at the end of 2024. He's got to clean some things up. Like, he's got to be more careful with the ball, better decision-making, and hopefully having a better offensive coordinator and better O-line in front will make all the difference for him.
We'll start finding out coming up in 52 days. But yes, South Carolina definitely has the quarterback advantage going into a lot of their matchups this year based on experience alone. We'll come back, wrap up hour number one. Paul Feinbaum had some pointed comments for Brian Kelly. We'll let you hear that coming up next. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri on your Wednesday here on The Game. All right, welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri with you here on your Wednesday on The Game. Jack, is it fair to say Brian Kelly's not too well liked by most people in the college football world?
I would say so. I don't think he has a great reputation at all. Is he a good coach? Sure, but is he well liked and respected? I mean, I don't know. I've never interacted with him before, but
Sure.
seeing, what's out there online and whatnot, yeah, sure. I would say probably not the most well received.
Well, I don't know any fan base that still defends him between Notre Dame, LSU, and Cincinnati. And I didn't expect, though, Paul Feinbaum, who was featuring Brian Kelly on the show weekly during his time as the head coach at LSU, throwing his own shot across the bow when discussing Brian Kelly at the Barrett Media Summit last week.
Years ago, Nick Saban started doing Pat McAfee every week. So we got a call from LSU and Brian Kelly saying he wanted to do our show every week. Now, I don't know if any of you know Brian Kelly. I saw some people from South Bend earlier. Spending 20 minutes with Brian Kelly for 3 consecutive years every Monday, I think I would rather have a colonoscopy on the stage right now without anesthesia. It's that painful.
Pretty harsh words there from Paul Feinbaum. I did listen to some of those interviews, and I'll say this: Brian Kelly had zero personality in them. He was just going through the motions, answering questions. Didn't really make for compelling television. I'll say that much, compared to a Saban on McAfee or something along those lines. But wow, rather having a colonoscopy on stage with no anesthesia, that's a heck of a trade-off there.
Yeah, totally. I've listened to some of those, catching it on SEC Network randomly during football season on those Mondays. Yeah, Kelly's kind of like, what's the way to describe it? He's kind of just cut and dry, like you said, Tyler. Then again, I feel like, no disrespect to Feinbaum, because he's the one doing the interviews and asking the questions, but, let's compare it to Saban and McAfee.
Sure.
Well, Saban has more personality, I feel like, because he's talking to McAfee, who brings the energy and whatnot. So
True.
You kind of have to reciprocate it in a way. Brian Kelly is who he is, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily let him come out of his shell a little bit when he's talking to, Paul Feinbaum, who I could also say is a little bit cut and dry. Like, he does not have a Pat McAfee personality, obviously, and he's a lot older too, so maybe that plays into it.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, totally. I could understand that, interviewing Brian Kelly does not sound great, especially when he's got his little outbursts and whatnot in media sessions with the LSU folks out there. Doesn't sound like a great coach to have to cover.
Well, you can now listen to him call Mountain West games this year on CBS. So if you're really just missing Brian Kelly, you have your opportunity, I'm assuming, late night on CBS Sports Network or whatever. If you really want to hear him, I don't know how good that's going to go, but I might listen to it just to see. But I'm not expecting him to blow me out of the water by any means.
Yeah, I don't know who his broadcast partner is going to be, like who the play-by-play guy is going to be. I'd be very interested in hearing that guy's perspective on what it's like calling games with Brian Kelly, because that's, Feinbaum, you have BK on for 15, 20 minutes. If you're the broadcast partner, you're with Brian Kelly a ton of hours on game day.
Sure.
But you're also probably doing, the production work with him and around him a lot more often. So, yeah, I mean, that guy's going to have a great perspective on what it's like being around Brian Kelly all the time.
We'll have to hear that guy's thoughts after the season's over and he's spent, 11, 12, 13 Saturdays with him, whatever it may be, on if he feels similar to the way Paul Feinbaum does about the colonoscopy when it comes to Brian Kelly.
Yeah, and maybe get that guy's thoughts after Brian Kelly is no longer doing CBS anymore. Like, if he gets back into coaching next year, because, yeah, it's going to be awkward to go back to studio with your true thoughts on what it's like working with Brian Kelly.
Yeah, and I do feel like he'll land somewhere. Is it going to be, something super high profile like an Ohio State or something like that? Probably not. That's just an example. Not that Ohio State's going to fire Ryan Day, but I feel like he's got to work his way back up a little bit. Could he take over? I don't know. If Northwestern decides to go a different direction, I forget who their coach is, but if they decide they want to try something different, could they hire Brian Kelly to try and get that on track? Sure, because like we said, he is a good coach. He did get Notre Dame to a national championship. He did have LSU in the SEC title game in year number 1. Like, he's not a guy that's going out there going 500 every single year, but like as a person, he falls short in a lot of categories.
But let's be honest, with BK, I think he's a guy that belongs coaching up north.
Yeah.
Don't
come here with your fake accents.
I still cringe at the clips of him.
Family. That
one recruit he had. I don't even think he ended up getting the recruit. The stupid dancing where he's, like, I don't even know what the move is, but you're like it's like you're putting up the peace sign and you're going over your eyes. Like, I get it. You got to do what you got to do to get a recruit, right? I'm sure there are a lot of coaches that have had to do silly things to land a recruit because you're doing whatever it takes, aside from the financials, to get that guy there. But, yeah, BK, he's something.
He is certainly something. Well, he's not the only coach that's difficult to listen to. There's a former South Carolina coach that, well, he's opened his mouth once again, and as expected, the answers are not going to make you very happy. We'll dive into that coming up in hour number 2. Also get into what's happening at the University of Michigan and where they might be going with their athletic director job coming up in the next day or so as well. That's going to come up in hour number 2 as the Extra Point rolls along. It's Howard Head and Jack Feltry here in the game. Welcome back in, hour number 2. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Velcher with you here on your Wednesday on the game. By the way, tomorrow morning, we're going to be out at Midas. We're located right down the street from us here on Gervais Street from 9 until noon. We'll be getting you set for a lot of players, including Lenora Sellers, is going to be out there tomorrow afternoon signing autographs, taking pictures, appearing with fans, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're by the Midas here on Gervais Street early in the morning tomorrow between 9 and noon, come by and see us. Hey, get your tires changed, get an oil change, something along those lines. And, again, come hang out with us as we get you set for the players being out there later and continue to count you down until the start of college football season. We're going to detour a little bit away from college football real quick. Jack, a few weeks ago, I introduced a new segment that I liked to call... Shut up! Which is for when somebody makes a comment or comments about something that just make you want to strangle them through the computer screen or something along those lines, or just really frustrate you when you hear them come out of their mouth. And, well, today's candidate is none other than former South Carolina baseball coach Paul Mainieri, who went on the WFAB podcast a couple of days ago for about an hour. Now, most of this conversation was LSU related because, again, this is a Baton Rouge news station down there, but they did spend a few minutes talking about South Carolina, and there's 2 clips I want to play here, but I want to start off with clip number 1, and this is him giving his recount of how exactly the South Carolina situation went down and how it ultimately came to an end.
I went there and, you inherit a team that's, got some weaknesses, of course. So the first year didn't go so great. And then we started in the second year when we finally could recruit. But what a different world this recruiting is now, with the transfer portal and open transfers and NIL and revenue share and all that stuff. And we got off to a little bit of a slow start. I think we were like 12 and 11 or something. And, I had a meeting with the athletic director, and we just kind of agreed that it was time for me to head back to Baton Rouge, where I would go home, and maybe they try somebody else because it was gonna take time there, and I really didn't have the time, at my age, and I always felt the job there was going to be a temporary assignment, but I thought it could put in 2, 3, maybe 4 years and get the program going, but. They were a little impatient about it, and I wasn't, really feeling it either. So we made an agreement to head home. But like I told you, I wrote out a lot of lineups in my life. Only 80 of those were at South Carolina. So I hope, it's people's prerogative to judge me however they want to. But, for me, it was just a kind of a short-term thing.
Jack, and spoke to Paul Mainieri more than any of us did. Your thoughts on hearing that?
Yeah, because I saw that interview yesterday. I wrote a story about it. I'm like, I'm not surprised. I anytime he opens his mouth, it's always something. The part that is jarring to me, I always go back to this whenever he brings up stuff about why things went wrong. And you got to remember, he's the one that, when he was introduced, he's like, yeah, this team's got some talent. Like, they made the postseason last year. They're not far off. I've got a 1-year plan, yada, 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 all this. And he's like, yeah, I inherited a team with some weaknesses. So we didn't have a great year, one, because of that. The guy, it comes off as a big hypocrite with the way he talks, right? Mm-hmm. And it's never his fault. That's the thing about him is it's never on him. It's always something else or somebody else, or we didn't have this, or we didn't have that. The guy had all the resources he could have needed to build a strong roster for year 2. Year 1, all right. Yeah, it should not have led to the at the time, the worst season in program history with the most SEC losses and most regular season losses in a year. That should not have happened in 25 because that team, a lot of those players from the 24 team were back, right? And you bring in what at the time looked like to be some pretty good pieces coming in for that 25 team, but it just didn't work out. So 26, you get more money. You've got, you're a year into the program now. You've kind of figured it out a little bit. At the time, you bring in a top 10 portal class, and again, it doesn't work out. I don't even know if it's necessarily like a talent problem. I think it's just he was not going to change his ways, his philosophy that he was doing from, here's the problem. The game has changed so much from when he was having success in the late 2000s, early 2010s at LSU. That's why the end of his LSU tenure didn't go, as great as it was at the start when he got hired initially. So, yeah, the way I look at it is it's not surprising at all that he's running his mouth, talking, about that South Carolina tenure. And he doubled down on a lot of the stuff that he said before in the days afterwards with Koki about, how the fans were impatient and the media and the administration. And, it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought he was the one that said, hey, this isn't a long-term thing. We're going to turn this around real quick. Again, the team was in the postseason the year prior to him coming here. So it wasn't like he had to pull them out of the doldrums like Kevin Schall's going to have to do now.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big step to get them back to where this fan base wanted to be, and he took it in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, I mean, is it almost fair to just wonder, should they have just kept Mark Kingston instead of? I think Mark would have done a better job with the team that he had after 24, and then he gets fired if he's able to run it back for another year. And I'm not saying that they should have kept him. Let's not. But stack the two options up against each other. Would you rather have Mark Kingston or Paul Maneri? I would wager to bet everyone on that text line right now would say Mark Kingston 9 times out of 10. Like I think we underestimate how much this fan base despises Paul Maneri. Like he may be the most hated figure, coach, athlete, whoever, personality in the Columbia area for sure.
Yeah. Look, if you did decide to hang on to Kingston, or if you just decided to hire Monty Lee in the summer of 2024 and have him take over, I can't guarantee that this team would have gotten to Omaha, that this team would have been a national powerhouse again. But I have a pretty strong feeling it wouldn't have gotten as bad as it did with Paul Maneri, right? Like, he completely tanked this program. And Preston made a really good point earlier, and I'll reiterate it. The comment he made there at the end of like, well, in all my 40 or so years of coaching baseball, I made a lot of lineup cards. Only 80 of those were at South Carolina, so that's not what's going to define me. And is he right? Yeah, because most people are going to remember what he did at Notre Dame and LSU and Air Force and all that kind of stuff. But to Preston's point, those 80 games do matter to some people. They matter to the people that played for you. They matter to the players that were here, to the families of those players, to the fans that invested in watching you for those 80 games. You can't just scoff and say that was nothing. For some guys, that's their entire careers that was here, that you're just like, yeah, that's whatever. I don't care about that. Like, you wasted their time. You wasted all of our time.
There's one quote that really, with what you just brought up there, that really sticks out to me. Where is it at? It was...
Is it the LSU quote?
No, it was... Hold on. All right. He said they were a little impatient about it, talking about everyone, fans, media, administration, and I wasn't really feeling it either. Yeah, really wasn't feeling it. So he waved the white towel, gave up, essentially, is what I'm hearing in the, when he I think he's never going to say he got fired, but I mean, like,
they went separate ways.
When he stepped down, yeah, like, I don't know, just waving the white towel middle of the year. I mean, and it was trending that way, man. I mean, they got blown out 22-6 in his last game. They looked awful in SEC play. Couldn't score a run at Florida. Barely any production out there. Just the start of the year, man, where they lost that in that doubleheader to, I'm sorry, they lost that game 3 of that opening weekend series against like Northern Kentucky, and he's talking about how the guys are tired and whatnot, throwing it, and that's the Paul Maneri specialty, is throwing guys under the bus right and left. It all goes back to the blame game, and until the very end of his tenure, where he decided in that public statement, which I'm sure he had to say, it was, I take full responsibility for how everything went. Yeah, that was like the one bit of accountability that was taken at all through that tenure.
If there was anything that Paul Maneri accomplished in his first year, they did beat number 1 LSU in the series opener on that Thursday night in May of 2025. He actually spoke about that and how conflicted he felt on that night. Here's what he had to say.
I'm extremely glad that I did not have to bring a team to coach here at LSU. Yeah, I mean, I love LSU, and I always will. It's a big part of my life. I went to school here. I met my wife here. I coached the team for 15 years, gave it everything I had. And, last year, my first year at South Carolina, LSU came to play.
That's right.
There, and it was the most awkward feeling that I could even imagine. We won the first game of the series, and it wasn't like special to me to beat LSU or anything like that. I mean, I looked across the diamond and I saw guys like Jake Brown and Steve Milam, all these guys that I had recruited to LSU when they were younger. Didn't coach them while they were here, but still had special feelings for them. And I don't know if I'm a softie or what, but I root for LSU, and I always will. But at the same time, I had a job to do. But when I left, before the season was over, when I left South Carolina by mutual agreement, one thing that I looked at the silver lining, I said, well, at least I don't have to take a team to Alec Box Stadium. I didn't want to do that.
And that backs up what we saw in that game that night where he's stone-faced despite the fact that Carolina just beat the #1 team in the country. There's kind of a rule, Jack, where if you get out of a relationship, you get broken up with, you break up with the other person, whatever it may be, and you're still in love with that person, don't go get in a new relationship because you still have feelings for that prior person. They're going to mess up that next relationship. And it sounds like Paul Mainieri couldn't put his feelings for LSU aside to even be excited for his own team at that point in time, beating the #1 team in the country.
I remember that when I think it was like an SEC. I think the game was on SEC Network, and there's a shot panning over to him in the dugout after they walked it off, and he's sitting there just stone cold face, and it's the strangest thing. It's like I understand some coaches are kind of just like that, but he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else at that point, and I can understand there's definitely some emotions of going up against your old school that you were at. Had so many good memories there and whatnot. It's got to be weird for him, but I don't know. I mean, it's just a strange situation, and quite frankly, the hire should never have been made. It looked like it was going to be a good hire at the time based on what he did, but I think the warning signs were already there when you look at he's out of the game for 3 years. The game has changed so much since he last coached in 21, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it turned out to be a colossal mistake that has set this program back, and now it's Kevin Schnall's mess left to clean up.
I think I speak for everyone when I say good riddance. They love you in Baton Rouge. They'll kiss your butt for as long as you want them to. That's fine. You have no business coming back here. That I doubt that he ever would anyway. And what happened the past 2 years was a mistake. We've moved on. We got what we think is a really great coach in Kevin Schnall. And I don't know, every time South Carolina plays LSU, I hope Carolina makes him miserable personally.
Yeah. They did not make him miserable when South Carolina got swept earlier this year at LSU. So then again, he wasn't even there for that. He was out of the country. So it's, the Paul Mainieri experience. I was not expecting to hear anything else from him, but you never know.
I'll be good if I never hear anything else again, personally.
Yeah.
Like just go back to retirement. Live your life in Baton Rouge. Leave us alone. Stop talking about South Carolina. But again, I'll give him one more. Because I think he deserves it. Speaking of things that are a little bit messy, there's some stuff going on at Michigan right now that could be leading to a firing within the next 24 hours. We'll tell you about that coming up next. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry on your Wednesday on the Game. Tyler Head here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. We're coming up on another weekend in just a couple of days, and there's always great sports action on, whether it's baseball, women's basketball. We're wrapping up that big soccer tournament as well, and only one place to take it all in, and that's with our friends over at Twin Peaks. Head on down to the lodge located right down the street from us here at 600 Gervais Street down in the Vista. Pull up a bar stool, order some delicious scratch-made food from the Twin Peaks kitchen, and do not forget, about those 29-degree draft beers to wash it all down with. Whether it's today, tomorrow, this weekend, or whenever, no matter what sport you're into, they've got you covered with TVs as far as the eye can see. So don't hesitate. Get yourself down to the Lodge at Twin Peaks and take in the ultimate sports viewing experience. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, and scenic views.
I have not seen it. And as it relates to my future, you know, what happens in this world is that for whatever reason, people decide to put things out there about what the future is going to hold. I don't know, Sam. I think I've been fired by social media 3 times in my 10 years here. I just moved through it, man, because to me it's nonsense, and it affects, more importantly, it affects my staff and my family in the way that things get put out.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Velcher with you here on your Wednesday on the game. That was the voice of current Michigan Athletics Director Ward Manuel on WTKA the other day, addressing the rumors of his impending potential firing, as there's a board of directors or trustees meeting going on tomorrow morning at the University of Michigan to basically decide his future. And look, Ward Manuel is right. Every athletic director at a major school gets fired by social media every time their team loses a game, right? Or loses a championship or whatever it may be. But in Ward Manuel's case, there's a lot of validity to it. Now, look, he's been very successful. He's overseen the football national championship a couple years ago, and most recently, Dusty May's men's basketball national championship just a few months back. But the Ward Manuel era as the athletic director going back to 2016 has also been embroiled in a lot of controversy, highlighted by what happened back in December with Sharon Moore having the inappropriate relationship with the staffer. And at the time, Ward Manuel claimed to have not known anything about it. This was news to him, shocking and all that kind of stuff. Well, some evidence has come out as we imagined it would. Turns out he knew for a while, and this is probably what's going to be his downfall.
And if you're Michigan, can you really blame them for wanting to move on? Like, I think if you're Michigan, especially with the football program, I think you want to wipe your hands clean of anything that went on with the Sharon Moore era. It was a mistake. Hiring him after Harbaugh, you got, Kyle Whittingham in there now. I think you just do what you can to move on from that era. And I think that includes Ward Manuel to some degree.
Yeah, and again, what we've now learned is that the knowledge of the relationship between Sharon Moore and Paige Shiver, who was the staffer that he had the relationship with, was known by Ward Manuel for a while, and he was basically trying to keep it on the down low. I believe one of his emails or text messages said something effective, hey, don't travel together, right? But he was well aware of this. Paige Shivers also launched a lawsuit against the University of Michigan where she advised that a lot of people in the athletic department knew about this and tried to cover it up. So he might not be the only name that gets fired tomorrow, but he'll certainly be the most notable. And the reason I want to talk about this is, Jack, we talk about this a lot. In college sports these days, we say, do whatever you have to do to win. We say all the time, winning cures all. It doesn't matter how nasty or how nefarious things get. As long as you're winning, as long as you're bringing in championships, everything's cool. This clearly shows there's a line because there is no other program in all of college sports that's won a men's basketball and football national championship in the past 4 years than the University of Michigan. And even that, embroiled with all this controversy with the sign stealing with Connor Stallions, the cheeseburger gate thing with Jim Harbaugh, the football staffer that had the inappropriate stuff on his computer, and on and on and on. It's too much. And a school like Michigan that prides itself on integrity and all that kind of stuff, no matter the success, says, hey, man, we can't do this anymore.
There's just a lot. I mean, that's all those things you just mentioned there. Just a lot going on that's like, okay, if it's one little thing, sure, you don't want it to happen, but it's not the end of the world, I guess. Yeah, it starts adding up, though, right? And it kind of becomes a defining point in your tenure as the AD at Michigan where all these things just keep on happening under your watch and nothing's being done about it, really. Yeah, that's not good. It creates a lot of problems, and I do think what you said before is accurate, that the whole Sharon Moore, Paige Shiver saga, it probably is the last straw, especially that the knowledge has come out that he knew about it and did nothing about it when clearly it's inappropriate, especially since the guy, Sharon Moore's married with kids. And not to make this about Sharon Moore, but, I mean, yeah, it's a problem that Ward Manuel knew about it and didn't do anything about it sooner rather than, well, now the facts are coming out later and, oh, yeah, wait, he knew about it.
Yeah, and again, going back to what happened in December, and that was such a wild day of news as all that came out, and Manuel said, hey, I just learned about this. As soon as I did, I fired him, and that's that. Well, again, when there's a paper trail, when you have messages and emails and all that kind of stuff, that an independent investigation or a law firm went and investigated, you know these things are going to eventually come up. They've obviously caught up to Ward Manuel, and again, the expectation is that tomorrow he'll be let go as the athletic director at Michigan, and really, this is kind of the last link in a lot of ways to all that mess. Again, I mentioned the more stuff, the sign stealing thing with Connor Stallions, Jim Harbaugh, and this things with recruiting violations. Again, the staffer with the computer hacking. Like, this really, in a lot of ways, truly cleans Michigan out for the most part. Now, there'll still be people in the building, I'm sure, that have been around for a while. But in terms of, like, the important figureheads, the leaders that were involved in all this kind of stuff, they'll basically all be gone, which I think the University of Michigan will happily take at this point in time.
Now, he is signed through 2030 with his contract. He is making about $2.5 million a year. I wonder, I mean, is there any justification or cause to buy him out and not have to pay him all that money with what he knew about this? I think, I don't know if we know the answer to that, but it's curious to see if maybe, if Michigan has to pay the full buyout for him with moving on from him, if that is ultimately the case tomorrow.
Yeah, and reading into this a little bit, there's a couple different ways this can go. It can be an outright firing where Michigan, looks for cause, so we don't have to pay you a buyout or anything like that. Maybe they come to Ward Manuel and say, hey, to save face, instead of us just firing you and leaving you out on your butt, you can retire. You can choose to resign, whatever it may be, and have a more ceremonial exit for somebody that's been here. And the guy played at Michigan. He's been there for a long time, so that might entice him enough to say, you know what, I'll take that deal. So I'm interested to see how this goes down. But yeah, and again, that comment that he made on the radio station the other day was before we knew the details about him having knowledge of Sharon Moore and Paige Shivers' relationship going back a couple of years. So he's not, I don't believe, made any comments since then.
Yeah, so... And he probably won't make any more comments.
I doubt it.
Yeah. So until after this meeting goes down, so I guess it's. Do we think it's going to happen? Is there public knowledge out there that it's going to happen, or?
I feel like 95% sure it's going to happen. I'd be really shocked if it didn't.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to re-rack this conversation tomorrow, or even Friday, whenever this. I don't know what time that meeting is, but whenever it does happen, we'll have to follow up on this because it seems like it's going down that way.
Yeah, we'll follow up on it once we get the official news, but trending that way for Ward Manuel to be out as Michigan's athletic director sometime tomorrow, probably. We'll switch gears to baseball coming up next. Last night, we had the MLB All-Star Game. Ooh, was it good? Was it bad? Was it somewhere in between? We'll discuss that on the other side. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri on your Wednesday on The Game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Felcher along with you here on your Wednesday on the game. Last night, MLB All-Star Game out in Philadelphia. Jack, our request for a fun, competitive game didn't quite go according to plan. AL blanks the NL 4-0 to the tune of the NL only getting 3 hits. Only 1 extra base hit on the night. That was Vargas' home run there in the 8th inning. So if you like really good pitching, you saw plenty of that last night.
Well, for the most part, I see the clip right now of O'Brien for St. Louis hitting Junior Caminero.
There was also that.
With a pitch in the All-Star game, so he ran straight to the dugout, and who knows what's going to be the case there. I think X-rays came back negative on it. I guess it was his hand there, but I'm sure he's going to undergo more testing when he gets back to Tampa, so that's not good. But, yeah, besides that, pitching was pretty good. You know, Christopher Sanchez, who got the start on the mound for the NL as the hometown guy with the Phillies, struggled. Basically the way I look at this game is that the Yankees scored 3 runs and held the NL to 0. So the Yankees won in a lot of ways last night. You know, Cody Bellinger won the All-Star Game MVP, which is pretty cool. Ben Rice had an RBI single, which was nice. But, yeah, I mean, it was – I'll say this. I don't think it was the most entertaining game. It was off to a good start, but got pretty boring after – a couple innings there where it's like nothing's really happening, but that's baseball sometimes.
I think you should have given the MVP to all the pitchers last night. I guess, you have 8, 9 guys sharing the award, but still, I mean, they did most of the heavy work last night. And Cody Bellinger did drive in 2 of those runs there in the first inning, but I don't know. I felt like with how strong the pitching was, you just give it to all those guys.
No, totally. I mean, it was a very good performance last night. I mean, Dylan Cease got the start for the Blue Jays with the AL. Struck out 3. You had a bunch of guys come in 1 inning of work and strike out multiple guys, which I think, given that you're only out there for 1 inning, it's pretty good. 15 strikeouts total last night to 2 walks. That's pretty good. But again, you got enough run support early. Vargas hits the home run late, and the AL wins this thing no problem.
While the game itself may not have been the most entertaining, I thought everything else about the presentation was really good. I laughed so hard when they came out for intros and signed the mock Declaration of Independence, I guess is the lineup card. I thought that was well done. They did the Sandlot thing in the middle of the game with the fireworks and all that. Of course, they always do the Stand Up to Cancer thing during the game in the World Series as well, which is really, really special. So I thought everything outside of the game being played was great.
No, totally. And typically the All-Star game, it's different from basketball and football to where you're not going to see there's no guarantee you're going to see 10 runs scored by both teams, because we talked about this yesterday, Tyler. You can't not try hard you can't fake, not caring, right? You got to go out there and still throw 95 miles an hour. You got to swing the bat, otherwise you're going to strike out. You have to go out there and do your best. Otherwise, you can't fake playing baseball is the point I'm trying to get at.
Right.
So the game wasn't amazing by any means last night, but you mentioned all those other things. Did I think the signing of the Declaration of Independence mock-up lineup card was a little tacky? Sure, but given that it's the 250th anniversary of the United States, they're in Philadelphia where this whole thing went down, yeah, I think it's actually kind of cool. That lineup card I read is going to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, so that's really interesting, and you couldn't have got away with doing that anywhere else.
No.
Right? So doing it in Philly for 250 of America, yeah, that's really cool. And I saw this. I fell asleep last night pretty early, so I didn't watch the entire game last night. Didn't stay up all the way till the end. But I did see the clip of the Sandlot with this morning. That was really cool. The kids riding their bikes in, and they're all going to the different positions, and the players are holding sparklers and all that. That was cool, very original that they did that. And I kind of hope that becomes a yearly tradition, since the All-Star Game takes place pretty close to 4th of July anyway.
Sure.
So I hope this is not a one-year thing, but it was cool for sure. And it's always, I love the pageantry of the All-Star Game, where you have the red carpet show before and the hours leading up to the game, where all the guys are coming in, their different outfits and whatnot. And it's a really cool thing. And then you have the All-Star Game with the pregame introductions. I always love watching the introductions of guys, hearing their name introduced, because it may be the only time some of these guys are going to be an all-star. So
sure.
To hear that, it's always really cool. The reception, although I'm sure there were a lot of boos yesterday from the Philly crowd out there for non-Phillies players. But, yeah, overall, the game wasn't great, but I still think the event in general, including the home run derby on Monday, a big win for sure. One of the better All-Star weeks for sure, I think.
Yeah, the crowd did a lot of heavy lifting the past couple days because, as expected, Philly fans are always going to be very, very honest. And, yeah, any guy that wasn't a Philly was getting booed, whether they're on NL or AL, especially the Yankees and stuff like that, Red Sox, things like that. So, yeah, the Philly fans definitely made for an interesting environment both nights, going back to the home run derby on Monday night as well. So that leads into my would you rather question. Have you been to an All-Star game or home run derby yet?
Have not.
If you had the option to only attend one, which one are you picking?
I thought about this last night. I would rather attend a home run derby. I think the home run derby would be so cool. Sitting in the outfield, put me in the outfield. I'll bring my glove with me. Like, I will sit out there, and it's just like, because home runs are going to be hit right and left. And
sure.
The rate at which they were coming on Monday was just nuts. They were getting hit all over the place. Like some of those balls were just going so far to where I think Bryce Harper was the only one to hit one out of the stadium. Not on the fly, but I think on the bounce out in right center field. I think it ended up clearing out of the ballpark. But yeah, the home run derby for sure. I mean, the All-Star game's pretty cool. I think you got to throw in all the other things, though. Like, if I'm at the red carpet thing, if I'm, at the game, too, as well, and seeing all these things go down, sure. But I think the home run derby is it's so unique. It's such a cool event that they have every year. I think I think I said it yesterday. I think the All-Star game is one of the signature events, if not the signature event, of the MLB season, aside from, the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, it's guaranteed entertainment, right? And again, we talked about and saying the praises of, the format, going back to not having a clock and having individual pitches and outs and those kind of things. And I thought that worked perfectly. And again, you're getting roughly about the same time in terms of the length of the event, 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes was the All-Star game last night, but you're just getting more of the guaranteed entertainment in a home run derby compared to the All-Star game, where again, the game itself may not end up being all that interesting. So I'm with you. I think if I got the opportunity, I'd probably attend a home run derby just because it seems really fun. And again, it's a unique thing. Going to a All-Star game while you're seeing the best of the best out there probably has pretty similar vibes to just going to a regular season game, where the home run derby offers you something completely different.
Yeah, totally. It's just so unlike anything. It's like going to watch batting practice for 4.5 hours. It's a lot of fun, it looks like. I would love to go. I'm hoping one of these years the Yankees get the All-Star game again, because they haven't had it at the new stadium. They haven't had an All-Star game in the Bronx since
which is surprising.
2008. It is surprising. So this was the 96th All-Star game. 2030 will be the 100th All-Star game.
Wow.
I'm kind of hoping that they go to Yankee Stadium. They're due for an All-Star game because next year, well, assuming there's a season, there will be the All-Star game.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, the All-Star game will be at Wrigley Field. I don't know where it is in 28 and 29. I would like to see it because it has not been in an AL ballpark in a couple of years also, because it was in Atlanta last year. 21, it was in Colorado. 22, it was in Dodger Stadium. Do you remember where the All-Star game was in 23?
I do not.
No, I don't remember.
They all kind of run together in terms of venues and stuff.
Oh, Seattle.
Okay.
But the All-Star game has been in a lot of NL stadiums lately. It's going to be another one next year. I'm kind of hoping, as we get towards the end of the decade here in a couple of years, Yankee Stadium gets one. And if that is the case, I would love to go out there and watch the All-Star game and the home run, more so the home run derby at Yankee Stadium. I think that would be cool.
Be a nice little late birthday present for you.
Yeah. So in a couple of years, maybe my fiance will get me that for maybe that could be a future wedding anniversary trip to New York, and we go to the home run derby.
Would you turn 30 in 2030?
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, I'm born in 2000, so yeah, that'd be pretty cool, man.
Caroline, if you're listening, go ahead and write that one down. You got 4 years to put the plan together. That is if it's at Yankee Stadium, but I like your optimism. That would make a lot of sense. And again, they haven't been to Fenway in a while either. I guess you could do it there.
Yeah, 99 was the last time they went to Fenway. I'm going to look up where the first All-Star game was, because it was at Comiskey Park in Chicago. Now, they are going to Chicago next year for the All-Star game, but they're going to Wrigley. The last time the White Sox held the All-Star game, I believe, was 2003. So you're talking about 27 years later. Like, that would be pretty cool if you go back to Chicago for the All-Star game for the 100th one.
Yep.
But again, it wasn't. I mean, they don't play at Comiskey Park anymore, so it's their U.S. Cellular or whatever, guaranteed rate field, whatever the heck they call that stadium out there on the south side. But yeah, I don't know, and it could be pretty cool if they went there, go to Yankee Stadium. I do like the option for Fenway's got to get an All-Star game again here soon.
You would think. So All-Star festivities wrapping up last night, ESPYs tonight, and then we're back to regularly scheduled sports programming coming up later on this week. But that'll do it for the MLB All-Star break. Coming up next, wrap up the hour, we're going to talk some racing when Jen Jensen, as your Wednesday rolls along here on The Game. All right, welcome back into the Extra Point, wrapping up hour number 2 on your Wednesday here on the game. Time to talk some racing with Jen Jensen from the early game. Speaking of early games or late games, I don't know which way to phrase it. You didn't get much sleep on Sunday night if you stayed up to watch the end of the Cup Series race at Atlanta. Checkered flag didn't fall until about 2 a.m. I won't lie to you, Jen. I did not make it to the end. I had to get up early Monday morning and watch the end of it before I came in to the station. But, man, what a race it was for those that did get to see it live.
Yeah, no kidding. And I would love to know the numbers because I have not seen that as to who exactly made it that far. But what a race for those who stayed. What a treat they got.
Atlanta, Echo Park Speedway, whatever we want to call it, just delivers every single time. I mean, again, they went to this configuration back in 2022. I was skeptical of it, but every single time it's given us a great show. You get a little bit of a different race in the summertime, and I thought in stage number 1, we saw the cars get a lot more spread out because the track was so hot. Handling really mattered a lot. After the rain, everything cooled down, and they were packed up and on top of each other and led to yet another close, exciting finish at Atlanta. I mean, this track, it just truly doesn't miss, and it's so – I look forward to this race every single year, twice a year now, that we go there twice a year, and once again, it gave you exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, no, it really did, and you just couldn't argue with the racing. It's funny to hear some of the drivers talk about, and especially Denny Hamlin talking about how that yellow and white line that they're not supposed to go down. They need to treat it like just a barrier, like a brick wall or something. And so to me, that just the temptation to me, or sometimes it is more spread out. I would definitely be like, oh man, can I use that for some momentum? But
Sure.
I think it would be very tempting. So I'd need the wall. I just would go under it every time and get penalized. But overall, the racing I think is really, really good. I felt like there were opportunities for passing. Speed was good. It was good all the way around.
Yeah, normally if you say, okay, Ryan Blaney won the race, he led 171 of 263 laps, thinking, okay, that's probably not that great a race if one guy just dominated like that. But I was shocked to learn he led that many laps because it was so competitive up front. They were trading the lead back and forth. That move people make into turn 1 in Atlanta works every single time, basically, when you shoot to the inside of the guy out front and pass him. But again, Blaney had the best car, even after some contact with the wall, after, Bubba Wallace had run him high, he's still able to go out there, command the pack, and obviously got it done when he needed to, but it was not easy. Again, he was fighting for his life the entire race because you just couldn't get away from anybody. But again, he had the best car and was able to get it done at the end of the night.
Yeah, Blaney was really strong. I mean, I loved the fact that he could fend them off because I think there have been other times where he's not done maybe as well, and he hasn't had as great a luck in the pits. So then that would put him behind. So he didn't have the opportunities to fight. But just it's been kind of fun to watch Penske overall improve, and watching him increase. How he's doing in the points. So overall, I think they put together a much better race than they have in the past.
Well, and you and I were talking about this the other day off air, but as much as the Fords have struggled this year, Blaney being third in points might surprise a lot of people. And don't look now, especially with how many points he got on Sunday from winning both stages and winning the race. He's only 65 points out of the points lead. He could realistically still win the regular season championship and go in to the chase with the best opportunity to win this whole thing. I looked it up before we started recording here. He's had 15 top 10s in 20 races. And in 2 of those races, he didn't have top 10s, Daytona and Talladega. He got caught up in a wreck. Like, he has been insanely efficient in a year where Fords are struggling a lot.
Yeah. No, they really are. And in a case where you have Denny Hamlin, who is like officially locked in to the chase, and you watch Blaney come, like, how soon before he has himself locked in if he continues on this trajectory?
It's got to be because, let's see, you have 6 more races to go here. So within the next few weeks, him and Reddick should very realistically be locking themselves in. Again, we still have this race for the regular season championship. And to remind people, with the chase coming back now, if you win the regular season championship, you start with a 25-point advantage, which again gives you the best odds to win the entire thing. So that is very valuable. And when you look at the tracks coming up, you got some shorter tracks like New Hampshire and Richmond where, the horsepower and stuff that Ford's been struggling with won't be a factor. Like, I fully expect Blaney to be run front of those places and could win again. And again, he's going to have an opportunity. And also Daytona as well. at the end of the regular season. He's got a couple of good tracks coming up where he could really make this interesting of what we thought was going to be a 2-horse race for the longest time.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. I like the sneaking in approach. And again, I think Blaney is very strong. I think he's a good representative for the sport in general, like when he has won in the past. And I'm glad that it's not just becoming a runaway for Reddick and Hamlin. Like, okay, we got another horse in the race that's a very strong competitor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. And speaking of the cut line, Bubba Wallace, who we kind of alluded to a moment ago, ends up going below the yellow line in the last lap. Would have had a second place finish, instead gets black flagged and finishes 29th. Again, there's been a lot of debate over this for the past couple of days, but went below the line in an effort to advance his position, so it does end up being a penalty. And he's in an okay spot right now, sitting in 13th, but if a few things go sideways these next couple weeks, those points that he lost, losing 27 spots, could be extremely valuable.
Yeah, especially when you do have a Daytona coming up where, anything can happen. So you can get taken out in the big one and end up, 30th or lower, and that's going to really mess you up in points. So I think that he to me is still in a tenuous position, but he did prove he does usually do well in Atlanta, and I hate that happened to him. I know there's been some debates, but that's the rule, and unfortunately that kind of bit him.
Also, shout out to Shane Van Gisbergen, 6th place finish. Again, we talk about him. No more road courses this year. He's got to perform on these ovals. Sunday, kept his nose clean, stayed up front, and got a lot of valuable points to try and keep himself inside that top 16.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that. I did not foresee a top 10 finish here, and that just goes to show us that he's catching on and he's putting in the work to end up having these kinds of finishes.
When he figures out ovals, everybody's going to be in a lot of trouble. I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's they better hold on to a lot of rugby balls because I think he's going to do well.
So can we confirm that Jen Jensen's going to try to get to Atlanta in 2027?
I think so. I love watching the racing, so I think that's just going to have to be a must.
Yeah, listen, last year was incredible when I went for the summer race. It doesn't disappoint, whether it's in March or in the summertime next year. Get there, you won't regret it.
I think that's just going to have to be a must. So road trip.
Yep, no doubt about it. This weekend, by the way, North Wilkesboro, for the first time in 30 years, hosting a points race, a sentence that I thought was never going to be possible 5 years ago, and here we are.
I know. I'm really looking forward to the racing there. Such a classic track, and it's exciting that they're giving it its due and letting it be a points race.
Yeah, no doubt. Looking forward to that, and we'll get a chance to talk about that coming up next week. So talk to you about it then. Appreciate it as always, Ben.
Appreciate it.
That'll do it for the Extra Point. Coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
All right, everybody, let's tell you about our friends over at Krantz Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. As always, the presenting sponsor of the Garnet Trust Hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays here on the game. Krantz Cooling and Heating has been providing great HVAC services to Midlands residents and businesses since 1983. And now that same great service that you're accustomed to for your heating and your air conditioning now applies to the plumbing line. You can hit them up at 803-672-3224. You can also go to their website at krantzcooling.com. That's Krantz, cooling with a K.com. You can text them directly from their website. Let them know about what HVAC issues you're seeing at your home or business, what plumbing problems you're having. They'll schedule an appointment, come out, take care of it. Shout out to Justin Krantz, the general manager there. They do an incredible job. They've been out to my home in Wes's. Let them come out to yours. krantzcooling.com.
11 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs, Tyler West and Chris, along with your last day for us in studio this week. Tomorrow, out at the Midas, as we've been telling you about all week, right down the street here on Gervais, getting you set for all the players like Sellers that'll be out there later in the afternoon. Then Friday, we're going to be hanging out at Pro Swing as well. So, yeah, exciting next couple days. And then, my God, next week will be all media day, so I won't be in here pretty much the entire week. So enjoy the studio while we can, fellas.
Are you going to tell the studio bye when you walk out? Do you have a personal connection to it or not really?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
No, nothing sentimental, nothing emotional like that.
I mean, you do have to sit in that box over there, Tyler, a long time every day. So I'm sure you're kind of maybe happy to be out and about, huh?
It is nice to see the world at times, yes.
Hopefully we can make it through next week. Is Wes going to have to push the buttons back there, or is somebody going to help us with that?
We have a plan. We're gonna go to the bench. Okay. We're gonna bring in some.
If Chris checked his email, he would already know the answer to that.
That's true. We did send out a schedule earlier today of what
is true.
What relief arms are coming out of the bullpen for us next week.
I saw an email from Terry. It looked like a full schedule.
Wow, Wes throwing darts. Okay.
Now, if you guys want to try it yourself, you're more than welcome to.
No,
it's not as complicated as it looks. I'll say that much. There's a lot going on in here, but the show itself is defined to a few key areas on the board and on the computer. I think you guys can handle it.
Maybe you can teach us one day.
You don't know this, Tyler? I don't know how many people do know this, but I've actually run one of those boards before.
Oh.
So I just try not to admit it because sometimes you admit things and you end up having to do it.
You get volunteered for it? Like, hey, wait a minute. What was it, this one or a different one?
Not that one. Different one.
Okay.
Different station.
Okay.
So,
well, it's good enough.
Terry's up there. Terry's upstairs taking notes. He's jotted down. Wes can run the board if needed.
Yep.
I'll deny it.
If worse, well, it's now clipped. We have the audio. It lives forever. You can't get out of it now.
That's true.
Regardless, again, excited to be out at Midas tomorrow and Pro Swing on Friday as we wrap up this week and get set for SEC Media Days and get closer to the start of college football season. 52 days between South Carolina and Kent State coming up on September 5th. I don't think I asked you guys if 52 guys naming dudes on the way out yesterday. Jasper Brinkley is a popular name that comes up. Anybody else that comes to the top of your mind?
I mean, he's got to be, unless I'm just not thinking of somebody, like he's easily the first 52 that comes to my mind. You know, people would call him B52 back in the day. Like, maybe there's some other ones, but man, he is the 52 in terms of semi-recent South Carolina football players. Kamar Bell a couple years ago was a very underrated Gamecock, I feel like, on the O-line. Came in, was kind of a late addition to that transfer class, and I don't want to say he was an afterthought, but he a little bit kind of was. And then all of a sudden he just takes a starting job and does very, very well in a role there. So did Chris upgrade his dial-up internet? Is that what that noise was? Or was that here?
That was Terry texting all of us, informing you that you'll be producing next week 9 to 12. So congratulations.
So was that what was that noise? Was that your phone?
That wasn't mine. Mine's on silent.
No,
so one of you two.
I will raise my hand. That was me. I never have my phone on ring, and for some reason it was.
It sounded like dial-up internet on my end for some reason. I don't know.
I hope not.
Yeah. Well,
other 52s, kind of some random ones. Jalen Nichols, another offensive line, ended up transferring, but he was a starter. He wore 52. Another guy who ended up transferring out, but Stone Blanton, he wore 52.
Did he change to 7? Was he 7 at some point?
Stone?
Yeah. Was he always 52? I thought he was 7 at one point.
I don't recall that, Wes.
I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know. But Stone wore 52 at one point, and he had a big play against Louisiana. Helped the Gamecocks escape disaster there. So,
and Jacksonville State.
Yeah. Yeah, Jacksonville State. I get Jacksonville State and Louisiana mixed up. Yeah, Rich Rod, Jacksonville State.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're in the right region of the country. Fair enough.
Right region.
there
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go.
close enough. Yeah. Both red and white.
There you go.
Whatever.
Disrespect intended?
For the Bizarro Gamecocks.
No disrespect intended. No.
Okay.
Just a slip up on my part. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it happens. Nobody's
Apologies.
perfect. Well, today's trivia question doesn't have to do with anybody that wore the number 52.
Oh, my goodness. I did
But-
all this
on,
Jasper
come
Brinkley
on.
homework,
I think you guys.
and there's not a Jasper Brinkley question.
I think you guys are going to like this one, though. Okay. Marcus Lattimore had 3 receiving touchdowns in his career at South Carolina. The last went for 52 yards against who in what season?
Why? Remind me of why we would like this.
Because it's a question that makes you rack your brain a little bit. You got to think back.
Hold on.
Marcus Lattimore questions were always fun.
Hold on.
Okay.
Repeat, as I always say, repeat
Yeah.
the question, Tyler.
Okay. Marcus Lattimore had 3 receiving touchdowns in his career at South Carolina. The last of which was a 52-yard touchdown against who in what season?
Oh, man. I think I got a shot at this one. Not confident,
Okay.
but you know how you just have like a little flash of inspiration. You're like maybe like not. I don't have it, but maybe. I feel like there in among the 3, there is almost certainly a screenplay touchdown against Vanderbilt towards the end of a half. And oh man, no, I don't know if that's the last one, but that's definitely one of them.
Okay.
So South Carolina opened the season the ugly game against Vanderbilt in 2012. So this was a home game that I'm thinking of would be 2011. I just don't know if that was the last one or not.
Well, let's see what the highlight says. Oh, Chris.
Do I not get to guess?
Well, okay. All right. You go for it.
I was just wondering.
All right. All right.
Man, well, Wes must have nailed it
Well, give me your answer if you think it's different.
if you went straight to the tape. This is one that came to mind, and I can't remember if it was a run or catch. I feel like it was a catch, and I'm with you, Wes. On this one, I don't know if it was the last one. I feel like there was a maybe screenplay. I feel like there was a touchdown catch against Navy in 2011. Because that would have been Carolina played Navy in 2011. Marcus Lattimore had some big play in that game, I'm pretty sure. So that's going to be my guess.
Okay. You guys both going for 2011. Chris says Navy. Wes says Vanderbilt.
Hey, so hold on, Tyler, before you hit it.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident. I don't know if it's the last one, but I'm pretty confident the one I'm thinking of happened.
Okay.
I'm also pretty confident that one of the other 3 was a wheel route against Kentucky in 2010. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if we can get there. Does anybody have the third? Like, are you confident that the one against Navy happened, Chris, or do you think it was a run?
I'm relatively confident, but we're probably going to check the tape, and then I'm going to go check the box score and be like, no, it was a run, or it didn't happen at all. But I really
and
feel like
how
it
did Marcus only have 3 receiving touchdowns?
It surprised me too.
I know.
Because
Yep,
he
really
was a
surprised.
great receiver out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
They'll split out Cunningham to the right side, Lattimore to the left. They snap it quickly. 4-man rush, screenplay, right side, Lattimore. Got 1 block, 2, inside the 50, 40. Marcus opens it up. 30, 20. Marcus Lattimore gone. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Marcus Lattimore. 52 yards. You can only hold him down for so long.
Yes, Wes.
Was that Vanderbilt?
That was Vanderbilt, 2011.
I got the third one. It came to me. 2010 versus Alabama.
Yes.
That's the 3.
His-
Kentucky, Alabama,
Oh,
Vandy.
yeah.
And-
I want bonus points for that.
Okay. And
The
the
angle route, the
the-
Texas route.
the Alabama Kentucky was in consecutive weeks as well. And then, one more against Vanderbilt, and that was the last one. I do actually have a bonus question as well, if you guys want to take a shot at this.
All right.
Ready? All right, since that play, only 2 running backs have had longer receptions than Marcus Lattimore had that day. Who are those 2 running backs? These didn't score touchdowns, just long receptions. For half a point.
Oh, man. You're talking about you name the running backs.
Yes, 2 running backs had longer receptions after that one. Those are the only 2 since then, since 2011.
I'm going to say Zaquandre White.
Okay.
And, man, give me Kevin Harris.
Okay, Chris, you got a guess?
I think Z White is a great guess. Let me be a little bit different, just so I don't pick Z White. Let me go Mike Davis 2.0 and AJ Turner.
No, I think it might be Mike Davis and Z White.
It is none of your guesses, actually.
There's no way.
Whoa.
There's no way.
And again, this is a reception.
Yeah, I know.
Right,
Z White was a beast out of the backfield.
But it has to be longer than 52 yards.
I feel like it was, but okay.
So David Williams in 2014, 59 yards against Clemson. And then Juju McDowell also against Clemson, 65 yards in 2022.
Oh, Spencer.
The 4th and 1.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Wow.
Guys, I'm trying to go back and think of
no
that
Rico
play.
Daddle in there.
Nope.
Yeah, no Rico. I don't know what I'm thinking on the reception, the idea that I've got in my head that Marcus had this long touchdown reception against Navy. To my credit, he did have 37 carries, 246 yards in that game. So he had some plays. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, no receiving touchdowns, obviously.
So
4 catches for 25 yards. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and look. Like, what am I thinking of?
You maybe were confusing a long run with like a screen pass or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, had to be.
Yeah.
Had to be.
Which, again, it did surprise me. He only had 3 in his career. And I know he dealt with the injuries and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, 2011, 52 yards against Vanderbilt.
I'm kind of proud of that one. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
That was good. Let's see. You are...
Do I get any bonus for naming all 3 or no?
Chris, is he allowed to get half a point for that?
Yes. I mean, that is probably more impressive than just the single game.
Okay. So, Wes, you're leading 14.5 to 13.
Hey, we got a tight battle here.
It's coming down, man. We only got a little over a month.
I felt like Wes was ahead by like 14 points at this point.
Well, you stormed back a couple of days in a row.
2 in a row that I missed, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good question, though, Tyler. Good question.
I'm getting as creative as I can. I'm trying to make these fun.
That was good. I was a little disappointed that there was no Jasper Brinkley, but
51's suggestions.
Casper Brinkley.
I did see that as well.
Oris Lambert.
Casper. Oris Lambert is a great.
That's a guys naming dudes.
Okay.
That's a phenomenal one. Let me workshop it. And Tyler, I know you've got something on the other side, I'm sure, for us, but I'm workshopping a question for Wes that will award no points, but nonetheless, I want to see if he can get it.
Okay, we can hit that on the other
side. Just a quick one.
Yeah, we'll get to everything as the hour rolls along for sure. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Wednesday here on the Game.
All right, guys, let me welcome our newest sponsor, our friends over at Midas, and tell you about two awesome opportunities to swing by the Midas on Gervais. That's 1515 Gervais Street this Thursday, July 16th. That's tomorrow. First of all, 9 a.m. to noon, the three of us will be out there. Come hang out, come say hello, get some free stuff, get Tyler's autograph, and then later on, 3:30 to 5:30, come out, meet Lenora Sellers, meet Nick Harbor, Vakari Swain, several other South Carolina football players. You can meet them, get your picture made, get your autograph, hang out with those guys. Also get a coupon book for a free oil change, and there'll be a giveaway for a free set of tires. Also, if you can't make it on Thursday, make sure you hit up Midas to handle all your oil changes, your brake service, your tire service, and all your general car care needs. We will see you this Thursday, two opportunities at the Herlong family locally owned Midas at 1515 Gervais.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Todd West, Chris, along with you here on your Wednesday on the game. Again, as Wes told you a moment ago, we're going to be out at Midas tomorrow at 1515 Gervais Street, literally right down the street from our studio, hanging out from 9 until noon tomorrow. And then Friday, going to be out at Pro Swing out there in Forest Acres. Once again, always a fun time out there with those guys as we wrap up the week. We'll get to some other things in the SEC coming up in a moment. But, Chris, you had a question to pose to Wes.
Well, that's Jasper Brinkley question for you.
Since you studied.
Jasper Brinkley.
All right,
Jasper
let
Brinkley.
me see if I can
You
predict
gonna guess
what
Okay.
Chris's question is.
All right.
Jasper Brinkley made his South Carolina debut on this opener against this team and knocked this quarterback out of the game in the first quarter of the season.
Really, really good one. Considered it. Not the question, though.
Dang.
But
Okay.
it was on your mind.
Yes, it was. I looked up that one. I was ready for that one, in fact. And I think that's South Carolina's last SEC shutout, also. That being the Mississippi State 15-0 game, Wes? Is that what we're thinking of?
Yes, who was the QB?
Mike Hennig.
There you go.
No disrespect to him, but whew, rough performance. And then he got sent on
Well,
his way.
I mean, he did get just obliterated that day.
He did get obliterated. All right, so my question is actually, Jasper Brinkley had 3 career interceptions during his time at South Carolina. Name the one that he had that effectively ended the game for a South Carolina win. What team and year was that? And bonus, with no points attached, if you know the quarterback that he picked off.
Picked off Matthew Stafford in Athens to ice the game in 2007.
Boom. You got it. Very impressive.
Ball was like kicked up in the air or something, I think.
Yep. I award you no points, but that's a great answer.
Did you do that just to bring back that memory for Tyler when he was like probably 2 years old?
Yeah, Tyler's Georgia Bulldogs. Yes.
Yeah, I watched that game on my uncle's brand new big screen in his like giant basement. Wasn't a lot of fun.
Oh, you had a great view then.
Had a great view. Yeah, I remember that one. That was a really good Georgia team that unfortunately the South Carolina loss held them back from higher aspirations at the end of the year.
You're welcome.
Jasper also had picks against Iowa and South Carolina State. So there's your Jasper Brinkley history lesson for the day.
All right.
Okay, no points.
Good job, Wes.
Thank you.
No points for that.
No, apparently not.
Okay, fair enough. So if I don't ask a question that satisfies what you guys have been studying, you can ask each other questions. How about that?
You know what? Give Wes a half point.
No,
We'll
I
give
don't,
Wes
I
a
don't
half
need your
point.
pity point.
It's not for pity. You earned it, but
Not official,
just
Tyler.
saying.
No.
Just saying.
We're
I want to
staying-
win this fair and square.
We're staying at 14.5.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. By the way, you guys doing great. Yeah, you've answered 19.5 out of 27 correctly.
I was worried at first, not going to lie.
Yeah.
So-
we're well over 500, so you guys
All right.
doing good.
Let's keep it up.
51 tomorrow.
Nobody get complacent.
Nobody get complacent. Plenty of work to do. Again, we're getting closer to the start of the season. Next week at Media Days, we'll hear from a lot of different players, a lot of different quarterbacks, including Lenora Sellers. And I was looking yesterday because Pete Nakos put out his list of what he projects to be the starting quarterbacks for all 16 teams in the SEC. And one thing really stood out to me as I was going through the list of South Carolina's opponents, and they don't see a ton of experience at quarterback this upcoming season. More specifically, 7 out of the 10 FBS opponents, which does include Clemson as well, have a projected starter coming into this year with 2 or fewer starts in college compared to last year, where 6 of the 10 FBS teams that South Carolina played, 6 of those quarterbacks had 12 or more career starts entering the season. So Carolina goes into this year not seeing a ton of veteran quarterbacks in conference play.
Yeah, and I think, man, that matters now. Some of these guys maybe come out of nowhere or just are ready to make an impact. Like that's a position too, man, where you can go from being obscure to a superstar in a matter of games. But also it's one of those positions too where everybody probably feels good about their guy, based on, oh, you won the job. There's a reason you won the job. We feel good about our guy. But if you haven't done it with the bullets flying, you just don't know, right? And so I think when you look at that, man, it is that's because these seasons take on kind of a mind of their own. There's all these little things that are going to affect your level of success, and that could be a positive one there for sure for South Carolina.
I kind of look at it in reverse too. If you think about South Carolina's 2024 season, And Lenore Sellers did some good things early in that season. There were, where there's some issues even in like a couple losses, right? You think about LSU and Bama, two very close losses that could have certainly altered the outcome of that season. He was obviously got banged up against LSU, had to leave that game. But there were some special moments in those games. The long touchdown run against LSU, some of the throws against Bama, but there were also some, okay, this is a first year starter playing big time competition moments. Then you look at the back half of the season and Sellers was rounding into form, looked like one of the best players in the country with some of the plays that he was making. So if you look at this situation for South Carolina, some of these teams that are breaking in new quarterbacks, like, the Clemson game being at the end of the year, they're going to have a new quarterback in Christopher Vizina, it looks like. And this is his first time as a full-time starter. He's played some, right? You kind of would like to have that game more at the beginning of the season, right? To your point, Wes, some of these guys, if they're really talented, by year's end, they're playing quite well. Georgia's, the game before Clemson, they're on solid ground and they know who their guy is at quarterback. But some of these teams that are breaking in new guys, Alabama being one of them, second SEC game, September 26th in Tuscaloosa, you're breaking in a new quarterback. If you're South Carolina, one of the things that, one of the reasons that you're kind of higher on South Carolina is they've managed to get themselves older, right? They've got their quarterback back, got a lot of guys back on defense. A lot of those guys, that linebacker room that we've been talking about, it's a bunch of guys who have now played multiple years of college football and they're in year 2, year 3 of this system. You want that experience level to be an advantage. Think about it. Last year against Kentucky, Cutter Boley, by year's end, people are like, man, Cutter Boley, this kid looks pretty good. And ultimately he transfers, right? But one of the reasons that you kind of like South Carolina's chances in that game was, all right, this is a dude starting on the road for the first time. He's very talented, very early in his career. And so those things absolutely matter. And I think the fact that even if it's not at the beginning of the season, you're facing more, first-time starter quarterbacks, maybe that can be one of those advantages for the Gamecocks this year when you're trying to steal some wins on the schedule.
We'll discuss who those experienced quarterbacks are in the SEC and where South Carolina's Lenore Sellers falls in the pecking order of them coming up next. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on your Wednesday on the Game.
All right, folks, you've been hearing the countdown. That means the countdown is on till football. Your time is running out to go ahead and upgrade that man cave, that TV viewing experience. But you do have a little bit of time to go ahead and call our friends at Integrated Media. That phone number, 803-948-8327, or head on over to integratedmediainc.com for more information about all their great services. They've been to my house. They've been to Chris's house. Let them come to your house, too, and upgrade your football viewing experience. Let's, do something simple maybe. Hang the TV, hide the wires, and just have that professional look in your living room. Or if you've got that extra room in your home that's just been sitting there, you've been dreaming about it, you've been saying for years you want to turn it into a man cave, want to turn it into a home theater system, take that dream, just express it to them, and they're going to turn it into reality for you. They have other services as well that you can go check out, integratedmediainc.com, or again, 803-948-8327.
All right, welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris with you on your Wednesday. Here on the game, we're talking about quarterback experience in the SEC. And to reiterate what I said a moment ago, going into the year, 7 of the 10 quarterbacks Carolina is expected to face against its 10 FBS opponents, 9 conference games, and Clemson in there as well. 7 of those guys only have 2 or fewer starts, which hopefully will benefit Carolina when it comes to the experience they have at quarterback with Sellers. He would have made 24 starts because he missed the Akron game 2 seasons ago, but being one of the more experienced quarterbacks in all the SEC. But, guys, this keeps going back to the same conversation we've had over and over again and will continue to have leading up to the season. The experience is great. Sellers feeling happy and confident in the new offense is great. If you can't block for him, if you can't protect him, allow him the opportunity to sit back there or run when he needs to, it's all going to be for naught. So, again, everything seems to go back to the offensive line for good reason because they set the tone at the start of every snap.
Yeah, I really hope there will be a day that we stop talking about the offensive line in this context. And, maybe there's a one day we'll be talking about the O-line in terms of, like, dominance or just, man, the O-line, they sure had a great day and they set the table for South Carolina to do well, as opposed to just maybe hoping they can hang in there and not be a negative. And so, unfortunately, this is the conversation we're going to have for the next, now 51 days soon will be about the O-line until it's not, until they prove otherwise. So, yeah, that's it's going to be part of the conversation. I'm sure there should be something on our bingo card we're making for media days about O-line discussion. And, I mean, ultimately, I think a lot of that, too, guys, is going to come down to health. It's going to come down to keeping that group healthy. If you just go by the rumblings you hear from the program, like, I think there is some confidence in that first group. I think it gets a little bit more dicey, a few more questions when you start looking past that group. And, just a little bit more uncertain, I think, is probably the most fair way to say it. Obviously, some of that will be Jakaria's peak, how, not just healthy, but how close to peak performance is Jakaria's.
Look at that pun, Wes.
Unintended, but it did work, right?
It did work. Here's what came to my mind for the purposes of this discussion. How much of the offensive line struggles, and to be clear, there have been a lot of issues. We all know that. We don't have to relitigate all of them, but to me, the biggest thing that South Carolina can do to increase the performance in the pass protection realm is to run the football better. Show me a team that can live in 3rd and 8, 3rd and long, as much as South Carolina did last season. And show me a team that's going to be able to face the schedule that South Carolina does and consistently block those guys. You're not going to find it. And so, like, when you look at the O-line last year, you looked at, okay, they couldn't run the ball consistently or effectively. We all remember, the Missouri game looking up, and Carolina has, negative rushing yardage in the game. You also look at the sack numbers, right? And all those things play in, personnel, coaching, development, scheme, all those things factor in. But if there's one thing you can pick for this offense to do, I think it's run the football, because that's going to service all the other areas. You would love to look up and, I think it literally, Tyler, wasn't it literally 3rd and 8 is what South Carolina averaged? I think, I remember you had looked it up at one point.
Yeah.
They were in 3rd and long constantly. What does that point to? It points to you can't run the ball effectively. And when you get in those 3rd and long situations so constantly, when you have as many penalties as they did, and you're constantly behind the chains, that allows other teams to then, send blitzes or rush the passer. We saw in the Ole Miss game, they're out there rushing 2 guys at times and just saying, you're not going to have anybody open. You're going to have to run into a sack, throw the ball away, whatever it may be. It just causes you so many issues. So, job one, I think, is get things solidified to where you can run the football better. You've got personnel in the backfield. Nobody's sitting here saying it's, top 3, top 5 in the SEC. It'd be great if it turns out that way. On paper, it's not. We discussed, Phil Steele's thoughts on the running back room. It's just unproven, but they have talent. They've got some guys that have played a lot of ball on this offensive line. You've got 16, Lenore Sellers, who can be an asset for you in the run game. And you have an offensive line staff in Jason Smith and Randy Clements, plus Kendall Browse, guys that have a track record of being able to run the football and turn that aspect around. So it's great to talk about pass protection, but to me, you got to start the conversation with, can you run the football? Because if you can, it's going to put your guys in situations that aren't so perilous. You're not going to be living in those third and long situations quite as much in the danger zone.
Yeah, it gives you options, creates the balance that we talked about so much last year. And I think Bryle's definition of balance and Shula's definition of balance are very, very different. So, yeah, the blocking is very important, but also setting that tone of being able to run the ball, hopefully, getting 3-4 yards on first down to set you up in a 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5. So you're not facing 3rd down and 8, 3rd down or 9. You're in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, more manageable, or again, you have the complement of your entire playbook at your disposal if you choose to use it. So, yeah, it's great to have the experience at quarterback, and I'd rather have Sellers than just about anybody else on this list in the SEC. But the other things around him being the complementary pieces they need to be, very important as well.
Yeah, well, and I think it's worth pointing out, though, that running the football loops us right back around to O-line play, right? Yeah. Like, they can help themselves out a lot, but still – that loops back around to them, and just being able to, how many times, not just in the passing game, how many times we see South Carolina in recent years get hit in the backfield, TFLs. And, I think that, unfortunately, wasn't just a pass pro thing, that extended out into the run game as well. And, you can make your running backs look a heck of a lot better if they are having to create a missed tackle 2 or 3 yards down the field, as opposed to in the backfield before they even have a chance to kind of get some head of steam, or, just sort of find a rhythm within a given play. So, I think that there's a reason why you made a change at OC. There's a reason why you made a change on the O-line. So completely different group of guys there. For the most part, completely different personnel as well. It's not always going to be pretty. But, I do think it can be a good bit improved from this past season. And let's be honest, guys, it's going to have to be.
Yeah, and again, we'll find out in 52 days how much of an improvement they've made in all those areas for this upcoming season. There's certain names that you see pop up in headlines, be like, man, I forgot about that guy. Remember when he was doing X, Y, or Z? I saw one of those the other day that I want to bring up coming up next to wrap up the hour. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, on your Wednesday on the game. All right, welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West, Chris along with you, wrapping up the hour here on your Wednesday on the game. Again, tomorrow, 5:15, Gervais Street, literally just a stone's throw from our studio down the street here. Going to be hanging out from 9 until noon, getting you set for a lot of players, including Lenora Sellers, being out there later on tomorrow afternoon. So come by and see us. And, hey, while you're there, you can get some tires. You can get your oil done. A lot of things going on at Midas that's leading up to the players being out there tomorrow.
Yeah, voucher for some, like, discounts, a free oil change, and then also they're going to be doing a giveaway for a free set of tires. So awesome stuff there. You got 2 opportunities to come by, and if you don't have time to get your oil change right now, it is a voucher. Like, you can come back and do that part later on. You don't have to do it. But guys, I need my oil change, so I may take advantage of getting my oil change while we're doing the show. How about that?
Fantastic. We can keep people updated as the morning goes along and how that process is. Maybe you get some new tires while you're there too.
Yeah, I probably need those too, honestly.
You never know. But again, we'll be out there at Midas at 5:15. Gervais Street coming up tomorrow morning from 9 until noon. Sometimes you see a headline and you're like, man, I forgot all about that guy when you see whatever they're doing now. And that's what happened when I saw Tom Herman's name pop up on some headlines the other day as he is joining Mike Norvell's Florida State staff as an assistant. I didn't really specify exactly what kind of assistant he's going to be, but one of these analyst type of things that we see a lot of former head coaches do. And it kind of brought me back, a decade ago, as he was leaving Houston, heading to Texas. He was like the hottest name in all of college football in terms of teams wanting him to be their next head coach. It's really funny what a difference just even 10 years makes.
I mean, he was the hot name for South Carolina. And, if you want to talk about a bizarro world of this guy could have been South Carolina's head coach, Kirby Smart could have been South Carolina's head coach, and, of course, it ended up being Will Muschamp, but those were the 2 hot names early on, for South Carolina. So he was considered like can't miss, and I think it's kind of interesting in some of these most recent coaching kind of carousel cycles. I feel like there really have not been coaches that have been labeled, can't miss in terms of their resume. And this was just a great example of that, hey, even being a can't miss coach does not actually mean that at all. I mean, talk about, he's still coaching in college ball and, obviously is at the Power 4 level in some role. So it's more than most of us can say, but still in terms of like the next big name, like national championship quality coach, which is kind of, honestly, that's where the hype was for him. That just absolutely, obviously has not happened.
Yeah, so weird to think about, a little less than 10 years ago. This guy's the OC at Ohio State, OC quarterbacks coach. He's a hot name there, gets the Houston job, comes out of the gate super strong because he wins 13 games and finishes in the top 10. Has another good year in 2016. He's 9-3 there and parlays that into the Texas job. And remember, Wes, not only coming up for the job here, but remember LSU getting thrown around for Tom Herman. Well, after 2020, done at Texas. Then his next head coaching job, he gets the job at FAU, 4-8, 2-8, and done there. And so just a really bizarre path. He was in the NFL as an analyst after his stint at Texas, got the job at FAU, but just has not kind of recaptured that initial, hot streak that he went on. And I guess, look, to be fair, part of that is he did get the big job at Texas and it didn't go how people had envisioned. He got the rebound opportunity at FAU. That didn't go how people envisioned. And so it's just crazy because this guy was considered like you said, Wes, can't miss, the up-and-comer. If you can hire this guy, you absolutely have to type of thing. So it's been a crazy path for him.
Yeah, for sure. I do like going down those paths of what if? What if South Carolina would have got it done? what if South Carolina would have hired Kirby Smart? How different is the college football world now? You know, if either of those things happen, you really want to go down that rabbit hole too. Think about the people that like played for a particular coach, met their wife because they were on that campus, and their entire life has played out a certain way based on, you know, decisions that had nothing to do with them.
Sure. Well, and when you think about Tom Herman as well, because, again, he got fired after the 2020 season. Here comes Steve Sarkisian. Now, at the time, we had no idea that NIL and all this was going to blow up into being what it was, but there's no denying that Texas is one of the most well-funded programs every single year, and Steve Sarkisian's reaping the benefits of that. What if they held on to him for like 2 more years to the point where he had, you know, a $15-20 million roster? What could he have done with that then? Like, again, it's a lot of what ifs. Obviously, what happened, but he's one of those guys like, man, if he could have held on a little bit longer at Texas, he might have been able to turn it into something with the resources he would have had.
Yeah, you never know. And, you know, maybe he gets another chance of some kind. Maybe he's the interim FSU coach next year.
He could be the interim FSU coach by the end of this year.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Things go sideways.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you know, it is. You know, fit is a real thing too, I think, in coaching. And sometimes even, like, I think if you thought, hey, Tom Herman to Texas makes sense, right? He had some ties in Texas. He came up as a GA in Texas. He had just been the head coach at Houston. You're like, oh, he's stepping up to a program with now pre-NIL era, right? But Texas is not really lacking for resources. You're like, this has to work. You know, the classic example is Scott Frost at Nebraska, you know? Bringing him home, played there, had a great run at UCF, gets there, does not work at all. You know, so I think it's easy to say, well, if you just plug this guy in, he'll win there. But you know what? I don't even know if, like, take Nick Saban. He won at LSU and he won at Bama. But what was the common thread? Those places also had people where Nick Saban was able to go in and say, if you guys want to win, it's not just me coaching, it's getting players. Here's what we have to do. And to those programs' credit, they made it happen. You know, they gave him the resources that he needed. They gave him the administrative support, and he's a great coach. He also always had great players. And so that fit and your university and your administration and your AD all being in lockstep, like all those things absolutely matter.
Well, and speaking of Nick Saban, a lot of the guys that became analysts or assistants for him in that, you know, rehabilitated coaches clinic end up going out and finding jobs. Steve Sarkisian was one of them, now the head coach at Texas. Obviously, you had a guy like Butch Jones after his debacle at Tennessee. He's back in head coaching again. So we'll see if this ends up being the case for Tom Herman. Again, not as good of a situation down there at FSU, but he may be somebody that we see taking one of those major jobs again in a couple years after he gets rehabilitated, so to speak.
It's going to take a lot, I feel like.
Probably.
Am I wrong on that? Like,
no, probably.
I feel like he's kind of far down the list at this point. But you know, maybe it's not getting a major job. Maybe it's He could be one of those guys that just toils away at some smaller school and quietly, you know, starts winning a bunch of games, and then one day you turn on a Tuesday ESPN matchup and say, I didn't know Tom Herman was at that school.
Well, there we go. We'll see. 5:15 tomorrow, Gervais Street at Midas down the street. Come by and see us from 9 to noon here on The Game.